Hey guys, we are in the basement, and today guys, on this episode of John's Arcade, we're going to be doing part number 10 of the Atari Quantum Restoration. And yes, as you can see right here, I have the Atari Tempest Cabaret pulled out because we're going to be using the Tempest to test the 6100 that we're going to be rebuilding in this episode. And guys, actually, I'm pretty excited about this video because we are at the finish line. Really, we could maybe kind of finish the Atari Quantum in this episode right here, because what's left to do? Well, let's talk about it, because I want to go to the garage, and the first thing I want to do is I want to put the harness in. Actually, I want to put the game board in. I want to put the power supply in. I want to test all the electrical out, make sure it's all working, make sure our power supply is putting out 5 volts, make sure the marquee light's working, the coin door lights, all of that stuff after we install the harness. Then I want to attack the 6100 monitor, because yes, we have a 6100 monitor that is actually dead. I pulled it out of a Tempest. Actually, it was a spare monitor that came with that Tempest over there. So that monitor is currently dead. We're going to rebuild it in this episode, and then after that, if we get it working, well, hopefully, maybe we'll be playing some Quantum by the end of this episode. I have no idea. So anyway, enough of that, guys. Let's just go to the garage and let's get to work on the Atari Quantum. Alright guys, we are back in the garage, and yes, we're going to get back to work on the Atari Quantum. Now let's kind of review, what did we do in the last video? Well guys, we did this right here. That's right, we finished the cabinet. I mean guys, look at this. It looks so beautiful. However, the cabinet is empty. So in this episode right here, we're going to populate the cabinet. We're going to put all of the guts in the cabinet, and hopefully, crossing our fingers, by the end of this video, we will be playing Quantum. Now right here on the table, I have all the parts that we need to put inside the Quantum. First of all, we have right here this Wells Gardner 6100 vector monitor. This is a color XY monitor. Now, Quantum actually shipped with an ampliphone, okay? Now, however, it's obvious to me they had intentions, on using a 6100 because the manual actually references the Wells Gardner 6100 as an option. So I think they were going to use both. But because they only made like 500 Quantums, I think that first batch, those first 500 were all ampliphones. Therefore, there weren't any Quantums out there with this 6100. However, the game should work just fine with this monitor. The draw rate is a little bit slower than the ampliphone. However, just based on research, there's a lot of guys running Quantums with 6100s. I think we'll be just fine. You know, down the road, if I find an ampliphone, yeah, maybe I'll grab it and we'll throw it in the Quantum. But the 6100s should be just fine. But right now, this monitor is dead, guys. It's dead, dead, dead. So we're going to have to rebuild it. I don't know what's wrong with it. I suspect we have a problem with the HV because I'm not getting any neck glow or anything. And actually, we'll go inside in a little bit here and plug it into my Tempest to see what it's doing. But ultimately, in this video, we're going to rebuild it. And I have my John's Arcade branded Ian Kellogg parts kits. I have a 6100 HV rebuild, I have a 6100 deflection board rebuild, and just a general 6100 cap kit. We're going to probably install all 3 of these on the monitor and really just shotgun it, okay? Now also over here, I have my harness, okay? Now this is a reproduction Quantum harness that Joe Magiera in Chicago manufactured. Now if you guys remember Joe, we visited him a couple years ago. He's a super collector. He's got an amazing collection of games. Anyway, he had these manufactured. He didn't personally make these. He hired actually a legit like wiring harness company to make these. So this looks pretty great. It's a little confusing, a little daunting. I think we can figure it out. There is a lot of plugs, a lot of wires. We need to kind of figure out where stuff goes, but I think we could do it. And then over here, I have my Quantum PCB, okay? Now, this is a reproduction. There was a gentleman on Clove that reproduced the blank Quantum PCBs, okay? Now, when I got this, again, it was completely blank. There was no parts soldered onto this. Now, and one thing to point out here, this is a one-to-one reproduction, okay? There's no emulation, there's no modern anything on this. This is a one-to-one Quantum PCB reproduction. Now, my buddy Jay works for a tech company in Boston, and him and I actually hired someone that works there who does this type of work all day long to populate our boards. Yes, I kind of cheated. However, I probably was saved 16, 20 hours of work, because to do this, oh my God, I was willing to take it on, but I was really not looking forward to it. And Jay gave me the opportunity to have this person do it, and I said, yes, let's do it. So we bought all of the parts, we gave the parts to this person, and they soldered them all on this board, and really, this woman did such a fantastic job. I mean, just look at the work here. I mean, I could have never done that. I mean, I could have done it, but not like this. This is pro, man. And I'll tell you this, we did test the board, God, about a year ago or so, and the board works, okay? We tested it at Jay's house. I actually just posted like a quick Instagram photo or something. I don't remember, but I shared it somehow. This board was working. However, on the board here, we are missing one part right here, and this is supposed to be a capacitor. For some reason, this part was not installed, and I don't know why. I have the capacitor right here. It was included in all the parts that we gave the person that did this for us, but for some reason, she did not put this in, and it's a 22 microfarad 35 volt cap that's supposed to go right here at C47. Again, I don't know why it was not put in. I did some research, and this value is absolutely 22 microfarad, 35 volts, so we'll put that in real quick. And then right here, she did not put in a test point. I don't know why. Maybe she ran out of the parts. It should be a test point like this, these little ones that you can hook onto. We'll probably just leave this blank because I don't have the part, and really, I don't anticipate having to use that test point. And then also over here, I have my Atari AR power supply. Now, I did cheat on this too, because there was a guy on Clove. It was Mr. Bill, I think it was. I don't remember who it was. He was selling a bunch of rebuilt AR power supplies, and I didn't have one even to rebuild. I might have in the basement, I don't know. But he was selling them working, rebuilt, relatively cheap on Clove. So I bought this one right here, and this should be just ready to go. This is our power supply, our AR, our audio regulator. Basically, it's a power supply and also an audio amp, which Atari uses in most of their games, especially in the 80s and 70s. But here it is. This is a rebuilt power supply. It is a audio regulator 2. So, okay, what are we going to do first? Well, actually, I want to throw this cap in here really quick, and then I want to start putting the board in, the power supply, and just kind of start putting the harness in. I'm actually really curious to see how the harness goes, and if we can maybe kind of quickly figure out some of it. But for now, let's just throw this cap in here, and I'm double checking. It's a 22 microfarad, 35 volts, and that is what goes here. And there is some polarity on this. Positive is on this side, and if we look at the cap here, negative is on the other side. So let's go ahead and just solder this in. Again, I don't know why she did not put this one in, because the part was included. She did have it. No idea. I did some quick research, looked at pictures of people's PCBs, and this is absolutely the right cap that's supposed to go here. So I'll tell you this, though. The board did work with the cap missing. Not sure what that means, but it didn't really need it to function. But anyway, let's just put it in really quick because we can. And I'm just going to come in here and solder this. And then we'll start throwing these parts into the game. And guys, this is it, man. If we get lucky and we can fix that monitor relatively quick, which is my hope, this is going to go actually pretty quick and pretty smooth. Let me see here. I think I used a little bit too much solder here. All right, and let's go ahead and trim these legs. And again, when you trim legs, you want to cut above the solder. You don't want to cut the solder, you want to cut the leg. Okay, so let's take a look how that looks in there. And that looks good, and the polarity is correct. Okay, so look at me. I actually did put a component on the board. Actually, I put another one on too, because I was missing at the time the NV RAM chip, which is right here, which is an X2212 chip. I got that at arcadechips.com. I actually dropped that chip in yesterday. So this board now is 100% populated. Again, we're just missing the test points over here. I'm not even worried about it. But anyway, let's put the board in the cabinet. What do you think, guys? So I do think that originally there was an RF cage over here, but we don't need it. We can just slide the board. There's actually wood here that designed to hold the board. So this should just kind of slide into place, and it doesn't. That's interesting. So we're gonna have to maybe put a standoff here and screw this into the wall. Because I don't know why, but you could see that the wood goes all the way up to here. So this position right here on the right was for the ampliphone deflection board, and on the left was the high voltage board. So let me get a PCB standoff, and I'll kind of screw this to the wall like that, and maybe in the back too, and that'll be nice and secure because I don't have the RF shield, which was originally there, I believe. Hang on, let me go get some. Okay, I went and grabbed some PCB feet here. I got one on already, but these little guys here, little plastic feet. This is something that Bob Roberts actually usually just throws in. And I always seem to have these, but I think this will be a nice little solution. I'll just throw one right here. But like I said, originally it had a whole metal cage, I believe, that this would slide into, which is pretty much like most of the Atari games that we've done. Let me get a screwdriver here. So if you guys know of a Quantum PCB cage, I would like to know. Because this is not going to look quite original here, but it'll serve its purpose well. Alright, so we have a PCB leg there, and one in the back. So let's go over here now and slide it in, and then we'll just kind of screw. I'll just do one of them in, and that way the board kind of has the board's not going to fall out. All right, let's put it in here. So we'll just kind of screw it right here. I kind of want one in the back too. This is kind of awkward. There we go. And I'll throw a screw in the back. Okay, I have it all screwed in front and back, and then let's kind of slide our power supply in, and hopefully this just goes right in there and we don't need any screws. And it should go right down here. And it looks like it does require one screw, which goes right here. Look at that, guys. We have a populated Quantum. Let me grab a screw, and we'll screw it to the wall where it was originally. And we'll try to use the original screw hole here, which is right here. Kind of tweaking the board there. Alright. Just like so. I don't want to go too tight because it starts tweaking the board. As long as it doesn't fall out, we're fine. So I did make the power cord connector, and actually I discovered that I had the transformer in the wrong way, and you guys actually told me that. Someone made a comment saying that I had that in the wrong way, and I did. And let's throw a screw in the bottom there. So I gotta find some screws here that are gonna look kind of original, because they used a whole bunch of screws all over the place to hold the wire ties, and it's actually this type of screw right here. I wonder if I should go to the hardware store and grab a bunch of these right here, because that's the kind of screw they used everywhere to hold the wire ties down. And we're gonna need a bunch of these screws because the harness has a whole bunch of these little loops, which is good, but I need screws. So I think I'm gonna run to the hardware store and see if I can just buy like 50 of these, or 20, or whatever we need. Because we want to put one down here, because there was one that went through this hoop here that screwed the power cord to the bottom. And then really, it was probably that same screw they used right here for the power supply. I think I am going to go to the hardware store and just grab a bunch of these. I'll be right back. Alright guys, we're at the hardware store and they don't have any wood screws that really match. The closest thing I found here are some sheet metal screws, which I think are these ones right here. These are 10 by half. Now you can see the original screw had a really aggressive kind of thread there because it's meant to go into wood, but we're not really making new holes, so I think these will be just fine. So we're gonna grab these sheet metal screws. Bummer. You know, it's funny when you do these restores, it's really hard to find these screws. I don't know what it is. They use just like some proprietary screws and they just look so much more legit than what you can get at a hardware store normally. So anyway, all right, let's go back to the garage. Is this fun? All right, we're back. So let's try our screws out. Actually, I just put one in right here and it works perfect. It's a little bit shorter than the original screw. The original one was more like 5/8 or something, but these are half. And I think it'll be just fine. I'm gonna go ahead and just screw the power cord to the base here. Because you could tell originally it was in probably this one or this one. I'm going with this one. Let's see how it could have went like this. Definitely. So we're just gonna have to kind of be detectives here and use the original screw holes to keep everything neat as we're installing the harness. Right there. That looks pretty good. Okay, so we have power going to it. So now let's try, actually I want to look at this over here. I think we're gonna have to get rid of all of this. So this is the original harness, what's left of it, and they cut it. So we've got these wires right here going up to the top. I believe this is power for the marquee light. And then also included in this bundle are these brown and white wires, which I believe are for the speaker. And if we follow these down, we can see, that actually looks pretty legit. But if we look over here, these wires were all cut right here. So I believe, I'm positive that Joe included all of this. If so, we're gonna have a pretty easy time here because this all comes up and there's one single plug at the top that plugs in for the marquee. I'm wondering if I should just kind of undo that right now. I think I'm going to. So I'm gonna come up in here and just unplug this Molex right here, okay? And you can see this Molex connector right here. This is the one that plugs in the top of the cabinet, and it's got 4 wires here, 5 wires. So it looks like this is the AC and ground, you know, black, white, hot, neutral, and ground, and then brown and white for the speakers. So that's completely disconnected. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually just unscrew this portion of the harness because I believe that this is included, and this is already hacked up. So we're just gonna get rid of this and let's get this out of the way. And if we end up needing it, we can revisit it. But this should be part of the new harness. And there's no sense in using this since it's all hacked up. So let me grab those screws that I dropped. 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's see if we can make heads or tails of the new harness. It's a little confusing. So right away, let's get rid of the parts we don't need. So this right here we don't need. This is the quantum control panel harness. We don't need this because we're using a millipede control panel and it uses the same harness when we have the original Atari one. So this is the MIDI trackball harness. We don't need this, so we can get rid of this one. And then what we're left with looks like 2 separate harnesses, okay? So we have this one right here, and then we have the one over here. Now this one looks kind of obvious because it has the edge connector on here. So why don't we go ahead and make that connection first and see if we can start to figure out where stuff's supposed to go. The one thing I'm really curious about is the power switch. So this goes on here, it's labeled component side. You know, I'm looking at that PCB, by the way, and I'm really starting to think that the reproduction is a smaller form factor. I don't know. Is it more compact than the original? I don't know. It just really seems like this PCB should reach up to this piece of wood, and then you screw it to here. Maybe there was never a RF shield on here. I really don't know. I thought it was a 1-to-1 exact, and maybe it is, but maybe they just kind of compacted the design, you know, it's still using all the original parts, but maybe they just kind of compacted it because there was a lot of unnecessary space on the board. I have no idea. All right, so let's see if we can start making heads or tails of this. All right, so right away I know what this is. This is the connector for the monitor, and this is the power for the monitor. So we'll just kind of loop this up here, okay? And I'm guessing, judging by, so this is gonna have to snake up here somehow. And there's a little screw hole here. So again, originally had an ampliphone, so we're gonna have to maybe improvise how we run this wire. You know, maybe something like that, I don't know. But for now, let's just kind of tuck it out of the way. All right, so let's see what we got going on here. Okay, so we got a bunch of, looks like ground wires. I'm guessing that this plugs in, where does this plug in? Let's see here, does this go into the power supply, all these? So we kind of got to be, oh, this probably goes into the AR. Let's see. Is there anywhere this can go? No. Boy, I'm really guessing here, guys. It just sure looks like it wants to go down here, no? Nope. Alright, well, we'll just figure this out in a second here. It does have this hook here. You know, I'm wondering if some of this stuff went to the monitor? Let's see. This is, I'm guessing this is the speaker wire right here, and then there's this little hook right here. Alright, I don't know where that goes. Alright, this, I can see where this goes. Okay, so we have, we got these two wires right here. These are the speaker wires. So this definitely is going to go up here. This is for the service switch, like so. Alright. Nope. Maybe this one. No? Is this the control panel? Where's the control panel connector? Right here. Okay, so this is the control panel. I see. This is the control. Let's take a look here. We got female pins. This has female, and this has male. This has female. Alright, this has got to go here. There we go. And then this goes to the coin door. And then these two wires are speaker wires. Alright, so I'm going to make that connection. We'll come right back. Hopefully we can figure this all out, guys. Is this fun? Alright, I made my connection here at the coin door. And then I made connections at the connection at the control panel. And then I have these two wires here, which are speaker wires. And I'm guessing that brown is going to be positive. No, brown would be negative. And I'm guessing that white is positive. And we can double check that. Okay, so that's all hooked up. And then we have this loop here that kind of looks like it wants to go up here. So I'm going to get a screw and screw that, and then the next one's going to go below it right here. So let me get some screws and I'll throw that in real quick. Alright guys, this is actually going pretty okay. I think I have everything in the right spot. So there's a couple connectors that I don't know where they go, like this one here. These ground wires, I deduced that these screw to here, and I screwed them to here. Also threw one down here. Up here, there's a connector, I don't know where it goes, right here. I think once we do the other harness, it'll all make sense. I'm guessing the other harness plugs into this maybe. But we have our connection here at the service switch. Again, connection at the speaker, the coin door, and the control panel. And then we made a couple connections here at the AR2. This one right here is for the audio. I don't know what this one is, maybe some kind of power or something. But this all looks pretty good. And of course, this one here is going to be for the monitor. So we'll just kind of put this out of the way for now. So I'm going to grab the other harness and see if this all starts making sense. And I'm just going to go through and really just kind of figure out what goes where. So here's the other harness. I can tell right away that this right here Okay, so I see right away what this is. This is the connector for the marquee and speakers up there. This is the power for the monitor, which is going to plug into this one right here, like so. Okay. Like that, and then this plugs right into the 6100. It's a single connection, which is really nice. So I'm going to go ahead now and just plug this stuff in and screw everything in its spot as we go along, and then I'll come back. And really, I'm just kind of taking my time, looking at where things go, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and just kind of putting it in place. But this isn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, so I'm going to keep going here. Not very exciting, so we'll be right back. All right, guys, I honest to God, I just spent the last hour trying to get the pins out of the connector, and I did it purely with brute force, and it absolutely sucked. I don't have the correct pin removal tool. They actually make one for amp connectors and females and males. The one I have is I guess, for Molex connectors in a specific size, and so the tool I had to remove the pins just didn't work, and this is the standard tool right here, the extraction tool, and I don't have the right tool, so I had to get the pins out with brute force, and it literally took me an hour, and I did just crimp the new pins, and I did it off camera because I was just like mad. so anyway, I re-crimped the brown and the white wire, and I put them in here, and we have new female connectors there. Now the top one I left in there because I couldn't get it out. I just cut the wire. We're not using this upper left female connector here, so I just left it in there. Who cares? So now when we plug this in, everything's going to line up. The brown and the white lines up with the audio, like you could see there. So anyway, I'm going to connect this. I'm going to keep going. That was really irritating, so I'll be right back. Okay, guys, I'm done. I have all the wiring in there, and it looks pretty neat, I think. Right now, I have this just hanging down. I'm not going to mount this. This is for the monitor. Until I see how it plugs into the monitor, then I'll secure it to the cabinet. But right now, I just have the monitor connection just loose. But you can see in general, everything looks good. It looks neat. Everything looks like it belongs somewhere. There was one connector back here. I could not figure out where it goes, and I believe that connector is for a second coin counter. I remember in the manual it's saying that, like in Ireland or Europe, there was a second coin counter. Maybe each mech you could have different currency. I'm not sure, but I believe that's what that loose plug is for. I did notice right here that nothing plugged into this. I'm assuming that is normal, okay? And then this little ground thing, there's nowhere for me to put that, and I believe that's supposed to hook onto the PCB cage that we don't have. Now, if we look down here, though, we're not really done, because we need something that plugs in right here, and what plugs in here actually goes to the switch, okay, which is right here. Now, for whatever reason, this was not included in Joe Magiera's harness kit, and I don't know why, because in my opinion it should have came with that. So we don't have this. However, luckily I do have it from the old harness right here, okay? But someone hacked into it. They hacked into it and added this isolation transformer that they use for the 4900, because if you guys remember, this was originally a double dragon. They put a raster 4900 monitor in there, and they tapped in this right here, which is isolation transformer 1-to-1, and it's tapped into this. So I need to undo this, which shouldn't be too bad here. Basically, I need to cut the wires, remove the old splices, and then we'll solder it and use some heat shrink tubing to clean it up. And then these 4 connectors here go to the switch. Now, I looked at my pole position for reference, and I could see the way it's supposed to be wired right there. So we have 2 blacks on top, assuming the switch is oriented the same way, and then 2 whites on the bottom. Now, I'm assuming and guessing that it doesn't matter which black or which white that we use, hopefully. And then if we look at the power supply here, the wires, these are the wires right here coming from that switch. And the one thing that I found interesting is that there is another pin in here, if you could see it right there, on pole position, that there's no wire on it and it's cut, okay? And that's the same thing with the harness I removed from the Quantum. Now I looked at my Tempest, and this is populated with a ground wire that disappears into the cabinet, and also there looks like there's an earth ground that goes to one of these screws on here. Now if you look here, all 5 of these ground wires are all going to this one screw, so I might do mine the same way. This is a later game. This game's newer than Tempest, and it's more of the era of Quantum, so I believe this to be right, okay? And just kind of looking, comparing notes here, this is an older power supply, I believe, so yeah, the connectors are different on that one. But anyway, so what I'm going to do right now is I am going to fix that connector, and then we're going to wire up the switch, and then we're going to test everything out. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to disconnect the AR2 and the board, and then we're going to plug it in and turn it on. I just want to see if at least the marquee light works. And then maybe we'll plug the power supply in, and we're not going to plug the board in to the very end until I can verify those voltages. But anyway, I'll tell you, that was a lot of work, actually, that harness. I do believe that it all kind of started making sense once I got into it, because at first it was a little overwhelming, but really it wasn't that bad. So let's come in here, and I'm just going to undo these hacks, and let's just remove this isolation transformer here completely from the equation, like so. And luckily I have this. My God, I really don't know why this was not included, but whatever. We'll make the best of it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this here and here, and then we'll splice that together. And hopefully we have enough meat there to do that. And then I'm going to do the same here and here. And this is just white, white, black, black, so I can't really screw this up. And then I'm going to strip this back. We'll solder it, throw some heat shrink tubing on there, and then hopefully this will work just fine. I'm tempted to throw a ground wire in here, but I don't really think that we need it. I'm guessing that the operator did not remove that ground wire, but because this really mirrors exactly what the pole position is doing over there. So let's strip this stuff back. I'm going to email Joe. I wonder if I was supposed to get this connector and somehow I didn't. I don't know. It seems like this should be included. Because if you're starting with an empty cabinet, you would definitely need this connector. Alright, let me get some heat shrink tubing and we'll put this all together. Alright, I have a piece of heat shrink tubing on here, and I'm just going to kind of twist it like this. See that? And then I'm going to come in with my soldering iron and solder this up. And I kind of want to stay away from the heat shrink tubing right now. And just heating this wire up from underneath. There it goes. Alright, that's good. So I'm going to come in with my lighter now and just throw this over here. I gotta wait for this to cool. It's too hot. It's starting to shrink my tubing. Darn it. Cut some of this away. I'm making a mess here. Let's go like this. Oh, for God's sakes, get on there. There we go. like so. And I'm going to take a lighter. Good as new. Okay. And then let's do the next one here. I'll go ahead and do this one on my own. Same exact way. I'll do the white one and we'll come back. Okay guys, I have it all done here. So I actually ended up putting on a third heat shrink tubing on here because one of the black wires was kind of bare or melted. So I'm not sure what to make of that, but I threw one more heat shrink tubing on there. So I'm going to go ahead and just make my connection here and then hopefully do it the right way over here. I'm going to go look at the pole position, but it should be black, black, white, white. Actually, let me just go ahead and do it real quick. But I believe the top two are black. And I'm making sure that the switch is oriented the same exact way. And then white, and then white. And there's a cover that goes on this, which I have. Okay, I'm going to go compare this to the pole position, but I have black, black on the top and white, white, and I have the switch again oriented the same exact way as pole position switches, and it goes black, black, white, white. Again, I hope and pray it doesn't matter which black or which white. Okay, so what I want to do right now is I want to turn the cabinet on. I do. Now we're going to have to get a new ground plug because we're missing the ground plug here right now. But I'm going to unplug the board, okay? I don't want the board in the circuit right now. And I'm also going to unplug the power supply because I just don't want to blow anything up. So I really just want to put power through the transformer, and in turn, it should send power. God, this is tight. It should send power. Okay, so we got that. Nothing's plugged in there. The board's disconnected. So everything is out of circuit. The only thing that's going to get power is the transformer on the bottom there. Okay, so let's try this. Okay, and I want to make sure the switch works. I want to see if the marquee light works. I don't know if that bulb is good. I did replace the starter. This plug is pretty ugly. We're going to have to replace it. So I'm taking my chances right now with it. So here we go. You guys ready for this? I'm plugging it in. All right. So I don't know if the power is on or not. It's plugged in. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn this switch here. I just heard the marquee light come on. Yep. Let's take a look here, guys. All right, so the switch is working. The marquee is lit. It's interesting, the whites are not very white on this. There's a little bit of red hue to it. Okay, that's encouraging there. So I'm going to turn the switch off, see if the light goes off. And I just heard it go off. Okay, so we have that switch wired correctly. I'm going to get brave here, and I'm going to plug the power supply in, and we'll test our voltages on it, which we're going to have to do anyway. So let me see if I can remember how to plug this in. This should go here. This should go here. Boy, that is tight. That back connector is super tight. That's audio. That's speakers right there. All right, so let me take a look at the board here and see if there's a test point. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to test it at the harness because I'm pretty sure these two outside wires are ground, and then the two inside are 5 volts. And then on this side, ground, 5 volts. So I believe that we can grab ground and 5 volts right here. I'm going to turn it on, and hopefully nothing blows up here. All right. So the AR should be getting power right now. And I'm testing DC volts here. I'm not sure if you guys could see that, but I'm going to carefully come in here and try to probe these. Yep, 5.3 volts. Good. All right, so that's good. So the AR is working. We've got 5 volts coming here. So we could safely plug that into the PCB. I'm not going to do it just yet. Let's get the monitor rebuilt. But guys, that took me a long time actually to put that harness in. Holy cow. It's in though, so all we need to do now is just drop the monitor in and we're pretty much done, guys. So I tell you what I want to do is I want to go in the basement and I want to test the 6100 in my Tempest, okay? Because I want to start somewhere, right? I want to see what it's doing because I haven't plugged this monitor in like a year, maybe longer. I worked on it at my buddy Jay's house about 2 years ago, I think. And we couldn't get it working there. I wasn't in the mood to really rebuild it at his house. I did change all the chassis transistors, and that's all I've done to it so far. So I'd like to go downstairs, plug it in the Tempest. I want to see what it's doing. I'm curious to see if the LV, it's got the LV2000 mod in here. I'm curious to see if that lights up, because that kind of tells us we have low voltage. Because I really think the issue is in the HV cage right here. That's my gut. A buddy of mine who I don't necessarily trust, I guess is the word. He thought maybe it could have been the flyback. I don't know. I tend to think maybe it's not the flyback. I don't know. We're going to definitely shotgun it. But let's go downstairs. Let's test the monitor. Let's see what it's doing. And let's get to work. Actually, guys, before we go back down to the basement, I want to show you one thing here. I just changed the marquee bulb out because if you guys remember when we powered it up before, this looked all pink. Well, that's because the bulb they had in here was this one. This is a aquarium lamp. So it obviously has some sort of a tint to it. And it was making my marquee look all red, making me think that maybe I had a bad reproduction marquee. That's not the case at all. So I swapped out the bulb. I actually stole the bulb from the Mortal Kombat over there. And you can see the marquee does not look pink at all. And then also down here, really fast, I changed out the coin door bulbs right here. So that's all working. And these are just some 555 bulbs here. Really simple to replace. Just pull that out, pull the bulb out, and stick a new one in. And those are very common, standard, like pinball type bulbs. So anyway, all right, so that's good. All this electrical stuff's all working. The coin door, the marquee light. So anyway, let's go to the basement, guys, and let's get to work on the monitor, and hopefully this goes quick. Actually, guys, before we go to the basement, I was looking at the power plug here, the AC plug, and it's been kind of bothering me. It looks really grotesque, and it's missing the ground plug. So I tell you what, why don't we run to the hardware store real quick? Let's get a new plug here and replace that. That way, everything's done 100%. All we need to do is drop the monitor in. Anyway, all right, let's run to the hardware store and see if we can find a new replacement plug here with a ground, third prong, whatever. Okay, let's go. Hardware store, and I want to grab a new 3-prong plug because the one we have was cut, and I actually like these metal ones, so let's get this one. It's $4.39 for the heavy duty plug, and these ones are good. So alright, let's go back to the garage. I'm gonna put this on. I don't know, I guess I'm kind of putting off the monitor right now, aren't I? So you guys want to look around? What's going on here? Alright, let's go back to the basement. Alright guys, we're back. So let's get to work here. And so what we want to do basically is cut off the old plug here. And I do this all the time, guys. This is like one of the most common restore steps of all these arcade games. So we have 3 wires here. There's a green, a black, and a white, which is ground, neutral, and hot. Hot is black and white is neutral, and green is ground. So I'm going to strip back some of the rubber, and I usually just do all this with my side cutters here. And we just want to expose enough wire so we can install our new plug. Alright, let's see how that looks right there. And then once you get it started, you can kind of pull on it like so. Alright, so let's remove the excess sheathing. Alright, and then there's a piece of rubber right here. Alright, let's get rid of this. Alright, so there's our 3 wires. I'm going to strip those back with my wire strippers, like so. 1, 2, and 3. And I'll just kind of twist them a little bit so they don't fray on me when we're doing this. Alright, so let's get our new plug. These are all ready to go in. And here's our new plug. Now usually when I do this, I like to use my cordless screwdriver. It just makes it easier. So we're going to remove these top 3 screws. Like so, okay? And then we want to loosen up the top here. Now the first thing you need to do, and this is important, and sometimes you forget to do this, the very first thing you do before you do this is you slide the wire through the base, okay? Then you make your connection. Okay? Just like so. And then here's our wires again. Let's get the new one. Okay, so now if we look at the new one here, okay, we've got 3 different colors going on here. Green is obviously ground, okay? The gold is the hot or the black, and then the white or the silver is the neutral. So the white wire goes on the silver, the black goes on the gold, which is hot, and then the green goes on ground. And really kind of simple here. Let's see, we got to actually maybe loosen this up a little bit. Yeah, let me see. Okay, so we want to squeeze the wire. I mean, this seems different. Is there a part missing on this? Hang on. So there should be a space here. There it is. Okay. Alright, so let's get the ground one in. Like so. And we'll tighten it down. Okay, that's in. And then our black goes on the gold. You gotta kind of hold it upside down to create the gap. Black goes on gold. And then white goes on silver. And then we'll tighten it up. Okay. You just make sure everything's nice and tight here. Okay, now that we have all the screws nice and secure, we're ready to close it up here. Now we have to pay attention. There's a little spring in here. See that? We got to make sure that the ground tab hits that spring, okay? And so that's how it goes, just like so. And of course, we got to make sure the screws all line up. And if you just kind of aim for that spring tab, you'll be nice and lined up. And I don't think we are, actually. There we go. Let's try it now. Yep. Alright, I'm going to get a regular screwdriver here and just kind of hand tighten it at the end. These screws like drive into the plastic, so it takes a lot of force to finish this off. And you just kind of want to make sure it's even all the way around. Like I can see this side's a little bit higher. Alright, that looks good. Nice and secure. Now we want to tighten these guys up here. Actually, you got to put the little grommet in first. This is like a weatherproof plug, I believe. Like so. And you can see we probably stripped a little bit too much of the insulation back, but that's okay. Alright, good. So there we go. We have a new plug on. Let's test it out really quick here. I'm going to plug it in. And I just heard the lights come on. So we'll go to the front. And our coin door lights are lit. And our marquee lights lit. All right, guys, that's it. We are really done in the garage for now. Let's go in the basement. I'm going to bring the 6100 down there. I want to test it in the Tempest, see what it's doing first. And then we'll probably come back out to the garage and rebuild it. So, all right, let's go to the basement. All right, guys, we're in the basement. So I have my Tempest pulled out here, and so obviously it's working. And what we're gonna do real quick here is I just wanna plug the Tempest into the spare 6100, which is right down here. Now, this is the monitor we're gonna rebuild, and this monitor actually was originally in this Tempest when I got it. And it was dead, and I ended up fixing the other one, and then this one just went on a shelf. I believe that's how it went down. It might have been that was a spare, I don't know, whatever. This monitor was in a Tempest. It's got Tempest burn, you could see it. So what we're gonna do here, I just wanna make sure everything's working still. So I'm gonna turn this off, okay? And we're gonna just put the monitor on a chair here as close to the game as we can. And if you look in here, guys, the 6100 has a single connection that it makes, okay? Which gets its power and its video and everything all comes from this connector right here. So I'm going to undo this, and then we basically got to try to get the monitor as close as we can so it reaches. Now I actually undid a couple of the screws in the back that were holding these wires, so we had a little bit more slack. But that's the idea here, is we're going to plug into that. So let me carefully put the monitor on this chair. And I don't really know how much probing we're going to do in this video, because really what I'm most interested in, well, I guess what the plan is to shotgun this thing. I don't really want to sit here and try to diagnose the issue because it's a little bit beyond my scope. And I just don't want to waste the time when we've got brand new parts. I'd rather just kind of shotgun it. So anyway, let's see if this reaches, and it does, thank God. All right, so I'm going to turn it on, and we're going to see what this monitor does. And this is kind of an awkward situation here to test. I don't know. What I'm most interested in finding out right now is if the LV2000 is lighting up, which kind of tells us we have low voltage and that section's working. But let's see. Okay, so the LV light is on, and it looks like the spot killer's on the board. And let me turn the light off. I don't think we have any neck glow whatsoever. Let's kind of take a look at the tube. No, we don't. So we have no high voltage. I mean, that's kind of what I'm seeing here. And then on the screen, there's a dot. Actually, we do have some raster. Look at that. So look at the screen here. There's a little dot right there. See that? And we don't want to leave that on because it can burn up the guns. So what does that mean? That means that we do have some high voltage if we have the dot there. I think we have very faint neck glow and a dot in the center. All right, well that's good, actually, because that's kind of telling me that the flyback is good. You know what we're going to do? I'm just going to shotgun it. I kind of anticipated to test the voltages on these connectors. I'm not even going to risk it. Let's just shotgun this thing because this is so awkward for me to test the voltages. I don't even want to try because I already have it in my mind that we're going to shotgun this thing. So let's just shotgun it already. So we saw that the LV2000 was lit, which kind of tells me, I think, by the way, the LV2000 is a mod that was installed on this monitor, not by me, okay? And it is a low voltage mod. It basically replaces a lot of the parts in this corner over here that typically go bad, okay? And it replaces it with a single board solution that is using more modern components. And it's supposedly more reliable. I know like Ian kind of thinks it's a little bit like snake oil. I don't know, but It is definitely something that's been around for a long time, and everyone recognizes it as the thing to do with these monitors. But anyway, it's got the LV2000 in there, which is good. So I tell you what, we're just going to go to the garage. We're going to shock on this thing. Why not? Let's make it brand new again, because it looks like it's never been rebuilt. I mean, I'm looking at the deflection board. All those parts to me look original. So let's go to the garage. I'm going to bring the monitor out there. We saw that we had some sort of deflection going on because there was dots in the middle of the screen. So the tube is working, or the guns are firing, and I don't know. Anyway, let's go to the garage. We're just going to attack this thing. Let's get it over with. All right, guys, we're in the garage. We're all set up here. I am ready to do this. So we have our 6100 monitor. I have my soldering iron. I have my Hakko FR300 desoldering iron. And I have a HV probe right here, okay? And this is what we're going to use to discharge the monitor. However, I was going to use this to discharge the monitor, but mine broke. I don't know. I pulled it out of my toolbox, and the tip is off. And I cannot seem to get it back on. So, all right, so here's the bottom line, okay? So they say when you discharge a vector monitor, you need to use an HV probe, okay? Which is why I have this, okay? This really applies to the older black and white ones, like the ones that you found in Asteroids Deluxe, those old Wells Gardner Amplifone monitors. You should discharge them with this because there is an HV diode that you can fry. Now, the 6100, it is my understanding that this monitor is self-discharging, okay? And really, you don't even need to use this, okay? But everyone says you should just to be safe. But from my experience, I've always been able to just discharge it with a screwdriver because it's already discharged. It's a self-discharging monitor. Do some research on this. You'll see people saying that it is a self-discharging monitor. So I don't really think we're going to get much of anything out of here when we discharge it. So I'm going to come in here with my trusty tool. Again, I wanted to use the HV probe, but mine's broken. But I know we can get away with this. I've done it this way before too, and a bunch of times. And even if you read the 6100 FAQ, the FAQ, which is kind of the Bible for this monitor. And by the way, if you guys want some good reading, seek out the 6100 FAQ. Just put that into Google. It comes right up. Read that document. It's amazing. But they also say you could use a screwdriver. So we're just going to do that. So I'm taking my left hand and I'm putting it behind my back. Okay, and I'm going to come in here and go underneath the anode. And I don't think we're going to get much of anything here because I really do think this is a self-discharging monitor, which was the case with a lot of the late model monitors. They're all self-discharging. I think basically as a safety feature, you know, when the thing loses power, the anode doesn't have a charge in it, the tube. So I'm trying to get in here. And we need to unhook this. Okay, so there we go. So we're discharged. The monitor's now safe to work on. And we didn't get any kind of snap or anything because I'm telling you, it's self-discharging. But if you wanted to be safe, you can use an HV probe. An HV probe basically has a series of resistors in here, so it's a gradual bleed. It's not like a sudden short, okay? And then also you could plug this into your meter, and it'll tell you what kind of reading is coming out of the tube. And you can also use this to check your high voltage. This actually steps down the voltage to from 80,000 volts and below. This will step it down so that you can read it with your meter. I don't know what the divider is. You know, like if it says like 10 volts, it's really 10,000. I don't know what the divider is. You'd have to look it up, but I don't know what's going on here. Why is this broken? I need to research. Can you rebuild this thing? I'm sure they sell replacement tips. This must be meant to, they must have meant for this to come off here because it's threaded. So I don't know, whatever. It's discharged. So, all right. So what are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna go crazy here. I'm just gonna rebuild the whole damn thing. I'm replacing everything. We're gonna do the whole kit and caboodle here. So let's look at our kits. These are from IanKellogg.com. These are John's Arcade branded kits, guys. These are made with the finest parts. And if you go to IanKellogg.com and use coupon code John's Arcade, you can enjoy 5% off your entire order. Okay, commercial's over. Anyway, yes, these are great kits. Ian put these together. He sells them broken down into different kind of kits for the 6100. We have a general cap kit right here. We have a deflection rebuild right here. And the deflection board is, of course, this board right here. That's the deflection board, and then inside this cage is the HV board, and here's the HV rebuild. So we're gonna do all three of these. I'm gonna install every single one of these parts. It's gonna take us a while, but we've got the tools to do it, and just gonna take our time, you know, and it's definitely one of my least favorite things here, but it's all going to be worth it in the end. So, all right, let's take a look here. Oh, also, one thing I want to point out here before we begin is that I already replaced the frame transistors, okay? And if you look on the side here, there are these transistors that are mounted to the frame. There's 2 here, there's like 1 or 2 under the board, there's 2 over there. I think there's 6 total. I've replaced all of those. I actually did that a year or 2 ago at my buddy Jay's house. I actually brought the monitor over to Jay's. He's having a little get-together, and we plugged it into his test thing. It wasn't doing anything. And I said, okay, well, I'll just, for the heck of it, change the chassis transistors and see if I can fix it. Well, I did change these. It didn't fix it, so that was not the problem. But we don't have to do these because these have been already replaced by me. All right, so let's take this apart. I haven't done one of these in a long time, but I don't think you can really screw this up. This is labeled black. That's labeled brown. So I'm just going to start going through here and moving all of the connectors, okay? And that one's got a key in it. So when we put it back together, it can only go in one way. So I'm just going to come through here. That one has a key. Just going to disconnect all of these. Okay. And then this guy right here, which is labeled white and blue, okay? So we'll do the deflection board first, and then the power right here. Oh, this is the coil, actually. All right, so let's see. We have to get this plug off here, which is kind of the hardest part of the whole thing. And I usually just jam a screwdriver in here. Let me see if I have a standard screwdriver we can use. There we go. I'm getting my hand out of the way so I don't kill myself. All right, so that's that. So this should all come with it. I don't remember. I think we need to remove the neck board too. So let's go ahead and do that. So the neck board, I'm trying to see what kind of connectors we have on here. So let's wiggle this off carefully. You really just want to pull straight back like so, okay? And let's see, let's disconnect this down here. Maybe we don't need to take this off. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think that's it. I think we just needed to remove this one connector here. So let me get a nut driver here. Let's see if this works. No. It's going to get a little socket or something. So this is not really hard. You know, you got to just take your time, pay attention, okay? If you're scared, you know, because we just disconnected everything, I wasn't paying attention. You know, if you're scared, you know, you might want to take photos, okay? But I've done this a whole bunch of times, and it's not too hard to screw up when you put it back together. Stuff can really only go in one spot. I really should get a nut driver for my cordless screwdriver instead of messing around with this. Okay, so let's pull this guy out, and it should be free if I did this right. And it is. Okay, so here's our deflection board. A little dirty. We can probably blow it off. But here's that LV2000 mod. Okay, Jeff Hendricks. I suspect this is an early model. I'm not sure, but we had the lights, which I believe indicates that the voltages are all there. And I'm just kind of looking at the board to see what kind of work's been done to it, because someone definitely worked on this before me. I don't believe a complete rebuild was installed on this. And we'll kind of figure that out as we go along. Like, I could tell that these filter caps are still original. So, all right, let's get set up here. Let's start rebuilding this. Okay, let's open these up here. So this is a 6100 deflection rebuild kit here. And so we've got fuses, which we don't need. By the way, I did test the fuses earlier. They're all good. Okay, so here's all the parts. Okay, not too bad. And then we have a checklist here that we'll just go through one by one. And you know what? We are going to be replacing a lot of parts that don't need to be replaced. You know, that's just kind of the nature of the shotgunning business. And you know what? It doesn't bother me. I'm telling you, it just doesn't bother me at all. I don't mind shotgunning stuff. It's fast, it's easy. We could sit here and try to figure out the problem, and it might take us 3 hours to find the problem. Or we just shotgun it in an hour, and the kits are not expensive, so I subscribe to this methodology. You might not. That's fine. This works for me. I like shotgunning, okay? And we're going to replace a lot of parts in this. And again, some of them might not need to be replaced. Actually, most of them are probably just fine, you know? But again, I'm not an engineer. I'm just a guy that collects these games and knows how to solder. So these kits are a godsend. So anyway, all right, let's get to work here. So these are all the parts. Not too bad. They're all labeled here. A bunch of diodes, some resistors, some transistors, and some more transistors. So it looks like these 4 transistors right here go on these heat sinks here. So why don't we do those ones first? And I'm reading how they're labeled 603, 703, 604. And we've certainly, by the way, done this before. You know, these kind of cap kits. Actually, I've done a 6100 rebuild before, and I have that video. You can search for it. If you search for like how to fix a dead Tempest monitor, it'll come up. But anyway, I'm going to remove these heat sinks, I think. I don't think they're soldered in. Yeah, they are. And so in order to replace these 4 transistors, we need to remove these 4 heat sinks. So we could try to pull the whole thing off at once. Yeah, why don't we just do that? So let me get my, actually I'm going to need my solder pullet too. I have my Hacko, but we're also going to need the solder pullet too because these heat sinks are big. Where is my solder pullet? There it is. So I'll just do a few of these with you guys, but really there's a lot of rinsing and repeating here. I mean, it's the same thing over and over again. Just desolder part, make sure you put it in right, and put new part in. Actually, I'm gonna try to get this off with the Hacko first. And by the way, this Hacko thing is a godsend, man. I'm gonna try to do it without adding new solder. Okay, so that's off. And then we have these 2 tabs right here that we're going to have to address because they're part of this heatsink. But the part itself is free. So I need to desolder these tabs here. And I think I'm going to add some solder to this and then use my solder pullet to get these off. It's going to take a lot of heat to get these off. And you want to add new solder to these joints just because it just helps everything flow nicely. So as we're melting the old solder, this new solder comes in and combines with it, and then the whole thing is just easier to heat up and desolder. And also we're getting a little bit of flux in there too from our new solder, which certainly doesn't help because the solder is a rosin core. It has flux in it. Alright, let's see what's going on here. Hot. So we're going to have to wiggle this free here, I think. Ouch. probably started with like the hardest part in this whole thing. There's that one. All right, let's get this one. Here we go. All right, it's off. Okay, so let's take a look at this here. And you could see that the transistor is screwed in the center there. And this was 704, which is right here. These are all the same. Emitter base collector, U07, okay. So the part number is a little different, but I'm trusting Ian Kellogg here. So let's take our screwdriver and unscrew this, and also pay attention to how it's mounted on here. So the screw sticks out. Like so. So there's a threaded nut on the back here. Okay, so that's off. Now you'll notice that there was some heatsink compound on here. I have some. Let me grab some, and we'll just throw a little bit on here to help conduct the heat. Okay, so we're using silicone heatsink compound. Doesn't take much here. Let's get our part out. Just kind of carefully wiggle it. Okay. So this one is has a larger heatsink here. So we're going to have to mount it in the screw above. So we'll put it in that one right there. So I'm going to come in and just put a little teeny tiny bit of this. Hardly any, really. So okay. Throw our screw in there. And our nut. I'll tighten this up. Okay, so hopefully, and if you look at the board here, the board is labeled collector, base, and emitter, and so is this part. Normally they aren't, EBC. So when we put it in, we could see that they're lining up EBC to EBC. There we go. So that's in, and the back side here. So I'm going to go ahead and solder the part in. And what I'm doing is obviously we've done a lot of soldering stuff on this channel, but if you missed it, what we want to do is heat up the pad and the part, okay, and then come in on the other side with the solder, and then you'll see the solder just kind of suck up to it, and then just kind of go up. Kind of far away here, I can't really see what's going on. And then these heatsink posts here. And you'll see the solder start to just flow and stick to the parts. And that's when you know it's hot enough. Okay, I think that looks good. Now the one thing you can do after you solder is use your meter to make sure you didn't bridge the pads. Okay, so we just did these 3 legs of that transistor, and those pads are relatively close. Okay, so if we put our meter in continuity, okay, what that means is that you get a beep if point A to point B is connected, meaning this is A and this is B. So if I come in here and I touch the legs of the transistor, So those two are not touching, it's not beeping. Then I'll go to the center one and the right one, no beeps, okay? So that tells me that we do not have continuity from leg to leg to leg, which is good because that means that we did not bridge that when we soldered here. And if you wanted to test your solder joint, you could press the top of the leg here and come over to, and just kind of follow the path to where it goes to here. And we know that's a good solder joint because I'm touching the part well above the solder. So this whole thing is in circuit. And we could do the same thing with this one and also the middle one. Okay, so that was good. We soldered that in there well, and everything's good. So we're ready to trim these legs back, and you want to trim it above the solder, just like so. You just don't want to cut the solder. And use your side cutters. Okay. All right, so that's the first transistor. I'm going to go do the next three the same exact way, and then we'll come back. Not too bad. Okay guys, I've replaced all four of the transistors, and initially I thought all four were the same. That's not the case. Two of them are PNP and two of them are NPN, which means negative, positive, negative, or positive, negative, positive, which of course refers to the polarity of the legs here. So you have to be careful that you're using the right ones, and I double checked and I was. And then you can test these with a diode test, which I kind of did, and I think these were okay. But basically, you're going to get a reading about 0.5, 0.6 in one direction, and then you'll get no reading in the other. And then the PNPs and the NPNs are the exact opposite of that. So with an NPN, you'll get a reading in one direction, but on an NPN, you won't get a reading, and then vice versa. But anyway, I did kind of a quick test. I think they were okay. I've certainly covered testing transistors before in past videos. So anyway, I want to move on here, and I think I'm going to do these diodes next because they're nice and big and easy to find. Not looking forward to these little guys here, or even these little guys. But so I'm going to go ahead and replace these diodes, and there's three right here. 100, D100, D102, and D101. And there is polarity with the diodes. You can see the band there. It's also marked on the board with the band. And diodes are kind of like a one-way street. You know, the electrons are flowing in the direction of the band and not able to flow the other way. So I'm just kind of looking here. So 102, 100, and 101. We need to replace those three. And then there should be a fourth one somewhere, which could be underneath here, because again, this LV mod here replaced a bunch of original parts. Oh, no, all four right here. 100, 102, 101, and 103. 100, 101, 102, and 103. And double checking, they're all the same part. So I can safely remove all four of them at once. And I'm going to do that right now without really worrying too much about what goes where. And the board is labeled correctly. So let's do these together really quick. I don't know. Do you guys enjoy these cap kit videos? I mean, we've done so many of these now, and I definitely have done the 6100 before. I think maybe even a couple of times. I'm just kind of adding new solder to this. These are big honking things. Maybe let's come in here with my Hacko. So we got one right here. It's a big part. I think it came right out. Yep. All right, so there's that one. Next one's right here. Man, I love this thing. Okay, so that one is loose. And then let's grab this one back here, which is right here and here. And I'm just doing all four of these at once just because they're all the same part, so I can't really mix them up. And then this one right here. All right, let's see if this stuff comes off now. Yep. And I'm just making sure the board's labeled properly as I pull these off. And it is. All right, so there's our 4 diodes. And we could test those really quick. You guys want to do that? See if any of them were bad. So if we put it on diode test, we should get a reading in one direction, but not the other. So we get 0.4 that direction, and if we switch our leads, we should get no reading at all. And we don't. .5, and now if we switch, we should get no reading. That one's good. 0.4. Now if we switch, we should get no reading. That's good. 0.5. And then if we switch, no reading. So it looks like all 4 of those were good. So I don't know, have we found a bad part yet? I'm not sure. You know, the problem could be in the HV cage too. So anyway, let's get the 4 diodes here. We'll do these really quick together. These are really big, honking, manly parts here. Look at these things. Alright, and again I'm observing the polarity of this, looking at the markings on the board. So you can see that band right there, and then there's a band on the board. Okay. Just kind of double checking my work. Alright. Man, I have to tell you guys, I've been putting this off and putting it off and putting it off. I just, I really was trying to get in the mood to do this. It's just, it's not hard, it's just slow. And then something inside me was telling me that, oh, what if we don't fix it? What if I can't fix it, and what if I don't? So, so guys, please, I hope you're praying for me right now that we get this going here, because I really want to be done. And we're so close right now. I'm just kind of bending these legs so it stays in place when we solder it. Alright, so it's going to take a lot of heat to get these guys in here. These are big honking parts, man. Tons of heat. Alright, looks good. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead here and just... Nope. Yeah, these just take a... You got to really watch it and just make sure that solder is flowing. If it pulls up, or if you get like a donut or something, you're doing it wrong. There's not enough heat. You got to get... It looks like a little Hershey Kiss when you're done. So I'm just holding in here till I see the solder flowing evenly across the pad. This is these big parts could maybe benefit from a little bit of flux. All right, 2 more. All right, that looks good. And the last one here. Okay, so we got all those in. Let's take a look at the top, make sure the parts are kind of sitting nice and flat, and they are. So I'm going to go ahead and trim these. And just cutting right above the solder. Okay, so those diodes have all been replaced. So I'm going to keep going here. I'm going to do these diodes here, these little guys, the same exact way, and these diodes as well. Again, I'm observing polarity. We've got bands on the side here. There's bands on these little guys here. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of these diodes, and then we'll come back. Okay, guys, I'm excited. So I just found a bad part, which is good. So it was diode, which one was it? It was 702. Diode 702, which is right here, is bad, okay? And it's the first bad part I found so far. And I've been testing the diodes as I've been pulling them out. But here, if we test this one right here, hear that? We got a short. And if we go in both directions, these little parts are such a pain in the butt here. Right there. So that part's shorted. That is a bad, bad diode. And I'm excited because we found something bad. Because it is kind of a bummer. You're pulling these parts out. You're testing them as you go. And they're all testing good. You know, you want to find bad parts. So we found one so far. So I'm going to go ahead and put this diode in. But just wanted to share with you guys that we found something bad, and that made me excited. So, all right, I'm going to put this guy in. Again, same as the other ones, just observing polarity with the band and all that stuff. But, all right, I'll put it in. I'll keep going. If I find something exciting, I'll come back and tell you guys. All right, guys, just want to share here. I'm replacing this resistor right here, which is 611, and I just pulled it out here. Now, 611 is supposed to be a 15 ohm resistor. What's the tolerance on it? 0.6 watt, 1%. Does that mean it's a 1% tolerance? So if I were to measure this, it's supposed to be 15 ohms, and I'm getting 10 ohms, you guys can see over here. So it's definitely out of whack. It's not blown, and it's probably fine, but it's way off. Yeah, it's testing at 10 ohms. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that. That's 611. I was kind of thinking that might be bad because that's where that diode was bad over there. But here's a replacement one. And if we were to measure this, it's 15.2. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. Now with resistors, there's no polarity, so you can't put it in the wrong way. So I don't know if that being out of whack would cause any real problems. I imagine not. I don't think it would stop it from working. But let me solder this guy on here. All right, so I'm going to keep going here. If I find anything new or exciting, I'll come back. All right, guys, I'm done. So I replaced all these parts here. Here's the strip. There's actually 2 diodes that were not on my board. I actually called Ian Kellogg, and D500 and D812 are not necessarily on every version or revision of this board. So, okay, so we got all those parts replaced. I tested most of the parts as we went along. We did find that one bad diode, which is encouraging. I think I'm going to do this cap kit really quick, too. And also replace these filter caps, which I have somewhere over here. Right here, I've got the filter caps, which are these 2 guys that go right here. So I'm just looking at this. Let's see, on the neck board. So the deflection board, we've got a bunch of caps here. 102 and 103 we're not going to change because that's in the low voltage section, which has been replaced by the LV2000. So we don't have to mess around with that. And let's hope that this is actually working. The neck board has 1 cap. HV cage has got a bunch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them on the deflection board. And then the deflection protection PCB, C1 and C2. Let's see here. What board is that? The deflection protection PCB caps. It says caps may not be electrolytic on your PCB but should be replaced. All right, so let's just get into this. 800, 801, 802, 803, 804, 805. And if we look at the cap map, they are all over here. And see if I'm looking at this right. No, I'm not. Okay, they're over here. Right here, they're not electrolytic caps, guys. So 800, 802, 803. There is polarity on these. Let's see. 801, 802, 803. Okay, so we're going to replace these old style chiclet caps, whatever you want to call them, with electrolytics. So it's 803, 802, 800, 807. Is that part of the kit? No. Oh no, that's 801. Okay, so 800, 801, 802, and 803. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just replace these. And the board has polarity marked on it, which is good. And I'm just going to double check something here. Those are all 1 microfarad, 50 volts. All 4 of those. So let's go ahead and swap those out. Yeah, we just got to figure out which ones they are. Which is my favorite little game. Should be these 2 right here. Alright, let's just get in there and grab that. So what I'm thinking here is that after we finish the deflection board, we're going to put everything back together and we're going to go try it out in the Tempest. Because our problem might only exist on the deflection board here. So it should be these 2 right here. Okay. There's 2. Third one right here. Should be these guys. 3. And then the 4th one's right here, which is right here. Okay, so we've got those 4 off there, and that is 801, 802, 803, 800 through 803, and these shall be 1 microfarad, 50 volts, and they are. And of course, as always, capacitors have a polarity to them. You can see the negative stripe right there, and the negative lead is shorter, and the positive lead is longer. And if we look on the board, they've labeled the positive side, okay? Just like so. So let me go through here and just make sure we're observing polarity. I'm putting the longer lead in the positive side, and then the negative band is pointing away. So unlike, you know, raster monitors like a 4900 or Sanyo 20EZ, this board really is not too crazy dependent on capacitors, and the problems with these boards usually aren't the caps. Now, of course, we should replace these because over time they dry up, but you don't get those problems or symptoms with the 6100 or the vector monitors like you do with a raster monitor, because the capacitors in the raster monitor have a way bigger role in geometry and picture and all that stuff. And I'm just coming in here and soldering these dudes down. Can't really see, I'm sitting way far away. Okay, so those should all be in. Make sure I didn't miss one. So let's go ahead and cut these legs. So I'm going to keep going here and replace whatever caps are left. Actually, we got to do the filter cap. Maybe we should do those together. Okay, so those caps are replaced. Let's do these big filter caps right here. Now, we do have to look at the polarity on this. So this whole plane here is positive, and that's positive. Now, on these filter caps, there's a whole bunch of different holes depending on the form factor of the cap. Because the form factor of these original caps, if I remember right, is a lot different than what we're going to put in. There's actually 3 legs, and I believe one of the legs is just for support. So let's kind of come in here and see if we can get this off. I need to clean my tool. Yeah, I do. Hang on, guys. I'm going to clean this out really quick. Okay, I cleaned it out with the little needle there, whatever you want to call it, and just got that one off like so. So let's go do the other one, which is over here. So this one right here needs to go. Probably should add a little new solder, but let's see if we can do this. There we go. Okay, and it fell out. So here's our old filter caps. So we have these 5 holes here. Okay, and you can see there's literally like 5 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we kind of have some choices here. We basically need to put one on this. So we look here. So this plane over here is positive, and then this whole plane is negative, and we basically have a bunch of choices depending on the form factor of our cap. So as long as we put this in right and negatives on the right plane. So here's our new cap, and it just has the 2 leads, doesn't have the 3rd lead for support like this one does. So let's come in here and just make sure we get just got to really find the right spot to get this in here. Nope. So we can kind of get into this one. Yeah, this is tricky. So what I'm trying to do is just find the right holes to use here. And it looks like this one and this one will work. There we go. Got it on. It's a tight fit. Okay, I'm going to come in and just solder this real quick before it falls out on me. Just going to put pressure down on the board. Okay. It's in there. So the positive is going to the positive side here, the negative is going to the negative side. Don't really like how it's sitting. Let me just see if I can maybe just get it a little bit more flush. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the other one exactly the same way and just really figure out which are the best holes to use. So with this one, the negative plane is over here, and then this whole thing is positive. I guess we'll do this together. Alright, so let's see if we can figure this out. I can see that these two right here, it's just really tight. I'm going to bend this back just a little bit, just to give me a little more meat to play with. There we go. Okay. So there it is right there. Again, we just gotta keep pressure on it. I think I'm gonna... Boy, this is irritating. Okay. I'm gonna see if I can load my soldering iron up with solder. Just kind of get this started on here. So it doesn't fall out. Okay. Looks good. Let's get this one. Pushing on the back here. Alright, so that's in. Okay, let's kind of just double check here. Negative to negative. And then positive to positive right over there. And then same thing with this guy here. Negative goes to that negative plane, and then positive goes to the positive plane. Okay, so what capacitors are left here? deflection board. So we did 800, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to go ahead and do 102. Actually, 102 and 103 we don't have to do. And 804 and 805 are 1, 2, 3. Where is 804 and 805? It's not showing up on the cap map here. Let's take a look here. 803. All right, I'm going to keep poking around here to see if I can find 804 and 805. All right, I looked. 804, 805 are not on this board, so we're moving on. So this is pretty much done. The one thing I want to do, actually, I did already reflow the headers on this. I actually did this at my friend Jay's house last time I worked on it. Just as kind of a desperation move because I wasn't in the mood to rebuild the entire monitor, so I just reflowed all the solder. The one thing I did do, and Ian kind of recommended this, and just to make sure that we have continuity, and I did kind of do this off camera a little bit, just make sure you have continuity from the headers to the traces, because even though they're reflowed, you could have cracks. And just kind of coming through here doing some spot checks. And what I'm doing is I'm just putting my meter at on the tip of the header pins on the back side, and then I'm just kind of going down the pathway of the trace and making sure we have continuity from the tip to the trace. This one goes. Okay. Where does this one go? This one goes down here. Okay, so those all seem good to me. And what other connectors are there? Again, I reflowed those already before. So the headers are all in here and here. All right, we tested all of those. I'm just kind of visually inspecting everything here. It all looks pretty good. This solder joint up here looks a little suspect. I'm just gonna freshen up stuff. Anything that looks like it's in need of solder or just doesn't look right, I'm adding solder to it. Like this right here. Let's see. I reflowed all those already. Just looking through here. Just freshen up some of this stuff. Just heating up and adding a little more solder. Okay. Well, that all looks good. So let's go to the neck board and just replace that one cap that's on there, which is, let's see, the neck board is 503, which is right here. So let's grab the neck board. So 503 is this guy right here, and this replacement's a 33 microfarad, and the one that is on here is a 33 microfarad. So we're gonna have to take off the cardboard backer here, and I'll re-zip strip it. So I'm about ready to test this. I'm not going to pull it off yet. I just want to make sure I have the polarity down. Oh, is there no polarity to this? No, there is. All right, positives on that side, negatives on this side. Got it. Okay. So let's come in here. Oh man, I really hope we got it fixed right now. You know, I tested a good percentage of the parts as I was pulling them off. I did not test all those little transistors. I removed and replaced probably 8 of those little 3-legged transistors, so maybe that was the problem. I don't know. I mean, we definitely found a bad diode, which is encouraging because I really wanted to find bad parts. Okay, I'm gonna get a zip strip and we'll put that cardboard back on. So yeah, I really hope that we got it, guys, because I don't think our problem's in the HV cage now. I did initially, but after doing those tests today, we had high voltage. We did, you know, we saw the spot killer, and I do believe that actually the spot killer was on and we saw a dot in the middle of the screen. The dot in the middle of the screen was there really because I had the flyback cranked all the way up. And I remember when we were at Jay's, we did that just to see what was going on. So I think the high voltage section's working. I'm not sure. But what we want to do now is I'm going to put this all together. And just thinking if we should do anything else here. I don't think so. I think this is it. So let's kind of remember how this goes. It goes like this. Okay. Oh my God, please work. Please, please, please. I would love it if we're done right now. Okay, so this goes right here. Okay, and this goes right here. So basically I'm just putting everything in the opposite way I took it out. Everything's keyed, so it's kind of hard to screw it up, but still be careful because obviously anything is possible here. Let's put the neck board on. So this connector here goes on the bottom of the neck board. Okay. All right. So this goes back here. And then these are labeled. This is brown. This is white and blue. This is black. And then this one right here has a key like so. And then we have our gauze coil that goes in the back there. And that's it. So we need to put our anode back on. And why don't we just do this really quick to be safe. I usually discharge it again before I put my hand near there. And there's like 2 little rabbit ears here, okay? And you just want to hook one on one side and then hook one on the other, like so. And then just kind of give it a little bit of a tug, make sure it's in there. Okay, so that's it. We have rebuilt the deflection board. Did we fix it? I have no idea. Just for the hell of it, I'm going to test the fuses before we go downstairs. I know that I've tested them already, but I'm going to do it again. Good. 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 Good, okay. And I'm just kind of just looking around, making sure everything's plugged in. HV. Got this plugged in here. Okay. All right, so let's bring it down. Just kind of looking at my work here. Please, please, God, work. All right, let's bring it down and see what happens. All right, guys, I have the monitor down here, and let's plug it in, and let's see what happens. All right, you ready? Please, 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 please work. All right, here we go. Nothing's blown up. Shit, spot killer's on. Spot killer is on. All right, we have high voltage on the screen here. Let me turn the light off here. See if there's anything on the screen at all. There's nothing. We didn't fix it, guys. All right, let me think about this. I'm gonna do some quick research and we'll come back. This is a bummer. Okay, guys, so in the basement before I came back up, I tested the voltage. I was reading the 6100 FAQ, and it said that you should get around 30 or negative 30 volts. If you put your meter on the frame and on here, and I was getting negative 30 here and nothing here, okay, and I was supposed to be getting some voltage here. And then I just put my thing on continuity here, and that thing is shorted to the frame. Look at that. That's bad. So I think I just found a problem here. And I guess maybe I did it. I don't know. And then over here, I'm tempted to replace all of these again. And then over here, this is shorted to the frame. This one is not. Okay. And then the one back here is not. Let's double check this. So both of these are shorted to the frame, okay? Now those are in the same circuit though. They're both I believe they're the same circuit, the 2N3792. So odds are, those are hosed. So I don't know if I have any of those 3792s. I hope I do. I have a 16 here. I'm gonna look through my parts and see if I have those transistors. Oh, I got one. I found one right here. So I've got one of them. All right, let me see if I could find another one and maybe we can replace those. I'm gonna go through my crap here and see if I can find another one of those. Maybe my work is bad. Maybe I screwed up. It's entirely possible. I did this a long time ago. All right, I'm gonna see if I can find another one of the 392s, and actually we should remove them and test them too. Yeah, let's do that real quick. Let's, since I can get to this one very easily, let's test it, and if we find a bad one, all right, so this thing should just come right off. All right. So let's test this guy. I need to remember how to do that. Okay guys, I went and looked up the pinout of this transistor. This is a 2N3792, and I drew myself a little picture. I'm telling you, this is the only way I can keep track of this. And I drew a picture of the transistor. It's a PNP, a positive, negative, positive transistor. Looking at the transistor like this with the legs favoring this side, okay, because the legs are not centered. So with the legs favoring north, this is base, this is the emitter, and then the body's collector. And here's our little tests, okay, that we're going to conduct. Base to emitter should be out of range. Base to collector should be out of range. Emitter to base should be that, 0.45 to 0.9. Collector to base, 0.45 to 0.9. And then collector to emitter should be out of range, with our positive lead on all of these on the left here. So let's go through our test here and see if this thing's still good. So red to base and black to emitter, we should be out of range, and we are. And by the way, it's on the diode test. Base, red to base and black to collector, out of range. Okay, good. Emitter to base should be 0.45 to 0.9, and it is. And then collector to base, so collector is, yep, that's good. And then collector to emitter, we should be out of range. All right, well, this thing tests good. That could be a good transistor still. I don't know why it was shorted though. Let's pull this one out too. And let's see if I can get in here. So there's another one, 2N3792 down here that was not getting voltage. So I'm going to pull that guy out, and we're just going to reinstall these. I think there's one more underneath the chassis too. I got to go look at the FAQ and see where these things are, because there's two different kinds of transistors. There's PNPs and NPNs, and one's a 9.2 and the other is a 16. I'm telling you, you know, all the things I've done with 6100s, it's always these damn transistors. All right, we popped that guy off. Let's just test this one really fast. Same way. Base to emitter, no reading. Base to collector. Okay. Emitter to base should have a reading. Does. Emitter to collector. Collector to base should have a reading. And then collector to emitter should have no reading. So that tests good too. Alright, I'm going to pull the deflection board off, and I want to get to the frame transistors underneath, and we'll come back. Okay, I had the deflection board off. I actually reinstalled this transistor here after we tested it, and I'm not getting continuity now. Now the other 9.2 is back here, and that doesn't seem to be shorted. So maybe that one's fine. All right, so let's, I want to reinstall this one here, and we did test this. The thing is though, if these things are shorted, it usually means they're bad. You usually fry them. I don't know, we'll take our chances here. But they are testing good, so it should be good. So let's reconnect this. Like so. Yeah, let's throw the screws back in carefully. I want to go just look at the map for these and make sure I put these in the right location. I'm curious to see if we get the 30 volts now. I might end up just replacing these. I don't know. It seems to me that it's because I shorted them somehow. I'm guessing that they're bad now, but they did test correctly, so I don't know. All right, let's check this. All right, nothing shorted now. All right, I think I'm gonna put this all back together. I'm gonna go back downstairs and I'm gonna try it again. All right, guys, we're back down here. I have it all hooked up here, and I double, triple checked continuity. Nothing shorted. I don't know what I did. I must have did that when I worked on this monitor before at my buddy Jay's house. So let's see what happens. It's all we could do. You ready? Spot killer's on. Nothing, huh? Game's definitely booting. Nothing on the screen. So the one thing I want to do is I want to test the voltage at these to see if we have the voltage. Boy, this thing's a real bummer, isn't it? So I'm going to test the voltages. I don't have my tripod down here, so I'm doing this with one hand. So I'm going to put the black on the frame and the red on the transistors, and I'm going to see if I have the 30 volts at every one of them, because before I did not. I did not have 30 volts at that one. So let me see if anything's changed. All right, guys. So I've been screwing around with it, reading the 6100 FAQ. And it talks about checking the B plus voltage, which actually is this orange wire right here that goes to the HV cage. And it's supposed to be 180 volts. Now, if I test the voltage right here, I'm only getting like 20 some odd volts, which is low. So I think we have a problem in here. I think we need to rebuild it, because according to 6100 FAQ, which is right here, by the way, it says... do you have picture? Turn up the brightness. Do you see a dot? Yes. Is there 180 volts on pin 5 of P9000? The answer is no. And then it says change or make sure that capacitor 901, 902 are 100 microfarad to 50 volts. Check for a leaky C905, and blah, blah, blah. This is all stuff that's inside the HV cage. So we need to do that. I'm shotgunning it, and we're doing the HV cage. I think we have an issue in here still that we did not resolve. I'm going to tell you too, and I don't know what to make of this. I tested the voltages on those transistors now, so they're supposed to be around 30 volts, negative or positive. The 9.2s are no longer shorted, but they're only outputting about 8 volts. So, what does that mean? I don't know. I know that underneath the board there, one of those 9.2s is a power transistor. Don't know if that's related. I need to research this further. So, what I'm thinking we might do is I might replace the power transistor, the 92 that's under the board, and then we're going to rebuild this following the flow chart from the 6100 FAQ. I feel like I'm getting a handle on this a little bit. Luckily, this was very easy to test right here. But anyway, let's go to the garage and kind of figure out the next steps. Okay, guys, we're back in the garage. Here's what I decided. It's 6 o'clock on Monday, actually, the 4th of July. I got to stop. We got to make dinner. I got to edit the video, blah, blah, blah. I want to keep working on it, but we got to stop. And we're going to resume this in the next video. This is kind of fun, and also I want to do some more research. I want to lay in bed. I want to read this 6100 FAQ. I feel like I'm figuring stuff out more as I do more of this, and that FAQ is a great read. And really, I encourage you guys, Google 6100 FAQ. it's fun to read. Maybe not fun, but it's all there. So we have a low B+, right? And there's a B+ pot in here, okay, that maybe is bad. Maybe we need to adjust. I don't know, okay? But we're going to stop here, and we're going to resume. And actually, if you guys got ideas for me, you know, this is a great time to leave comments. So, hey, listen, at the end of the day, we did a lot in this video, and you know, I'm that much closer to being done. I was really hoping to be done with the video this 4th of July weekend here, but I guess it's just not happening. But we did a lot. I mean, we got the harness on there. The monitor's mostly rebuilt. I'm really tempted to order more of those frame transistors just for good measure. I don't know. I think in the next video we're gonna attack the HV section, because there might be something wrong in there, and you know, it could be that damn flyback, you know, which I did order, by the way. I don't know. I'm gonna do some more research. I feel like we're gonna get there. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to the finish line, and once that monitor works, my God, we're gonna be done. So anyway, all right, guys, that's it. Let's go back down to the basement. I know we didn't finish. I'm sorry. I'm out of time. So all right, let's go back down to the basement. But it does look cool. I mean, look at it in here. I've been admiring the assembled cabinet, I have to say. So, all right, let's go back down to the basement. All right, guys, there you have it. That was episode number 10 of the Atari Quantum Restoration. And, well, what do you think, huh? Yeah, I know, a bummer. We didn't finish it. We did not finish it. We ran out of time. And that's all there is to it. So, I don't know. We'll pick up again in the next video, because, guys, I really, really want to be done with that. I mean, I think that I kind of have some clues, and I'm going to be reading the 6100 FAQ to really get some direction. I'll talk to Ian Kellogg too. But I think we'll come right back. We'll get back to work on the 6100, and then I think we can really finish the Quantum series in the next episode. And I hope really it's something simple in the HV cage. Maybe it's the pot. You can adjust the B+. Is that why it's slow? I don't know. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. We actually did a lot. You know, that harness took me forever. It took me like an entire day just to put the harness in. And you guys have been telling me that the popcorn table, the table is more wobbly than usual. And actually, the popcorn machine is not fully on the table right now. I had it kind of moved to the side. so there, now it's on the table. Is that better? I was trying to make more room, and only 3 of the 4 legs were on the table. So there. That's better, right? So anyway, yes, we'll pick up the Quantum Restoration real soon, maybe even middle of the week. I don't know, because now I'm in the mode. It's like, go, go, go. I want to just keep working on that thing, so we'll see. All right, let's do some viewer mail. Oh, quickly, I got to tell you guys 2 things. So I'm going to be in California July, it's a Saturday at California Extreme. Is it the 15th or 16th? What day is it? I think it's the 16th. I'll be there Saturday the 16th at California Extreme, which is a big, awesome, classic arcade and pinball show. They have like 1,000 games or something really stupid. We're putting on a tournament there that we're calling Proto Hype, okay? And if you guys are gonna go to the event, be sure to find me, participate in the tournament. We're gonna have prizes and all that stuff. If you guys want a t-shirt, go to arcadeevent.com. And by the way, you don't have to attend the event. So if you just want to order a shirt to have one, they're actually great shirts. My friend Andrew, 34K, made the design, and it says Proto Hype. It's got a exploded diagram of a Wicco joystick. It's very cool and nerdy and a little inside baseball. So go to arcadeevent.com, and again, if you're not attending the event, you can still order the t-shirt and we'll ship it to you after the event. I think it's $25 shipped, not a bad deal, and good quality shirts. Richard Thistle Games printing them, so go to arcadeevent.com, and then if you are attending the event, you can actually pre-order the shirt and also pre-register. The event's gonna cost $5, so, but it's gonna be an all prototype tournament. It's gonna be sick, guys. And of course, I'll video it and share everything with you guys. And yes, I know, I have to do the Brofest video. I'm putting it off. I just am because the weather's too nice. I can't be down here on the weekends with that video. I wanna be in the garage, which is what we did this weekend. So I will try to get the Brofest video out before I leave for California. So that's the goal. What else I want to tell you? Oh, go to iankellogg.com. If you guys want to get 5% off your entire order, use coupon code John's Arcade. And just kind of write that down. Go to iankellogg.com. You can get all the John's Arcade branded cap kits and parts kits and everything you guys need to repair these games, the highest quality parts, and you're supporting John's Arcade, you know, by buying these branded John's Arcade kits. So go there, save yourself some dough by using coupon code John's Arcade, one word, 5% off your entire order, no limit. Okay, let's do some viewer mail. If you guys want to participate in this segment, you need to email them to me at blkdog7@gmail.com. That's blackdog7@gmail.com, blkdog7@gmail.com. First one's from Trey. Hey John, I'm a big fan of your vids. I'm excited for the Midway cabinet. Me too, actually. And we'll talk about that in a second here. I actually bought a cabinet recently and I had some questions about it. My cabinet is a Century Phoenix cabinet that I got for $75. It's in great condition but not working. For some reason it has no graphics and with a different marquee than normal Phoenixes. The problem with it is there's no sound and the screen has a white line down the middle. I'm gonna replace the caps and hopefully that will fix it. I actually don't know which monitor I have, so if you know, please tell me what I have in the next video. P.S. I love your vids and Quantum looks amazing. Pictures below. So I'll share some pictures here that Trey sent. So here's the cabinet. So Trey, this cabinet to me looks like a Sega Gremlin cabinet, like a Frogger. It's throwing me off a little bit because it doesn't have the buttons on the control panel, but that sure looks like a Sega cabinet. That marquee is not original, guy. This is a bootleg all the way. So, I don't know. That cabinet looks like Sega Gremlin, but it doesn't at the same time. Maybe you guys know. What country are you in? Now, the monitor chassis, I'll show a picture of the monitor chassis right now. Okay, what the heck is that? I've never seen that monitor chassis. What, you got some weird stuff going on here, man. So, I don't know. It looks like it's some kind of a bootleg cabinet or with a bootleg board and a bootleg PCB and a really weird off-brand monitor. I don't recognize that chassis one bit. All right, here's what I want you to do, Trey. Go to iankellogg.com and tell him I sent you. I want you to send email Ian and send him a photo of your monitor chassis. Maybe he knows what it is. That looks like nothing I've seen before. The way the flyback is horizontal there is really throwing me off. So it kind of looks like a 4900, but I know it's not. So send that image to Ian Kellogg, and maybe he can put together a cap kit for you. Now you've got some kind of a collapse thing going on. You said you got a white line down the middle. That's vertical or horizontal collapse, and usually a cap kit will fix something like that. So I would definitely start with a cap kit. Is the game playing blind? Do you have any sound? I mean, listen, it's always back to basics with this stuff. You know, check your voltages. Make sure you've got 5 volts at the PCB. I suspect the Phoenix board in there is bootleg too. This looks like a bootleg cabinet, 1,000,000%. But you know what? It's a fun little project. I would finish it. Phoenix is a great game. I mean, I like Phoenix. I mean, I loved Phoenix when I was a kid. I think I played Phoenix on the 2600. Was there a good version of that? I don't know. I seem to remember that. So yes, Trey, I would send a picture to Ian Kellogg, and maybe you guys can work together and get a cap kit there. All right, next one's from Jason here. Says, hey John, here, I've been waiting patiently for you to read my viewer mail, or maybe I misplaced it. But I just wanted to ask you a couple questions. First, any word on the Ghostbusters pinball, as the premium models will be out soon? When will yours be down in the basement? Okay, so everyone's asking me about the Ghostbusters pinball machine, and all I can tell you is I'm being as patient as I possibly can because I don't have it, guys. I paid for it 100%, but I don't have it, okay? I was told that it's been pushed back. Stern's having all kinds of production capacity issues and QC issues. I don't know. What I believe is this. I'm going to get my machine. I know it. It's looking like August. I don't know. Is that true? Maybe. Nobody seems to know. I can't get a date out of anybody about this damn pinball machine, and it's making me angry. And the thing is, I'm trying not to be angry about it. I'm trying to be an adult, and I'm trying to be patient, but it is eating me alive a little bit that I paid for this god darn thing. I don't have it. So, I don't know. That's all I can tell you. I don't know when I'm getting my pinball machine. Originally, I was hoping end of April, and then it was supposed to be middle of May, and then it was supposed to be July, and now it's maybe August, so I don't know. And I don't think that I'm alone, which is making me a little bit less mad. That's all I can tell you, because it seems to be an issue in general with everybody, and yes, they're shipping the LEs because I guess the way they did it was this. They made the Pros first, and then they shipped them internationally to Canada and Europe and wherever. And then they started making the Pros for the US people. However, they sold more Pros than they thought they were gonna sell, so they had to stop making the Pros so they could move on to the LEs and the Premiums, which is shipping now. And then they're gonna go back to making the Pros again. Normally, they would not go back to the Pros at this stage, but again, I think they oversold and they had to stop making Pros so they can move on to LE and Premium, and as a result, I got trapped in that we need to stop making Pro phase. That's what I think's going on. So anyway, I don't want to keep talking about it because it is going to make me mad, and I'm trying not to be mad about it. I want my Ghostbusters! When all your project games are done, what games will leave the basement and where will the new one be placed? And third, what are your ideas about getting a driving game for the basement, like cruising or something that is popular in arcades? Please let us know your thoughts and ideas. Your friend Jason. P.S. Nice job on the Quantum and the pickup on the Mortal Kombat cabinet. I hope you get all the parts and make it a true masterpiece. LOL, Jason. So I have a general plan. I think that I'm getting rid of Outrun. I think I made up my mind on that. So the Outrun is leaving. Goodbye, Outrun. The dartboard is leaving, which makes room then for Firefox and Quantum, and then I'm done, right? Yes, that does do that. So Firefox and Quantum, dartboard, and Outrun. Now, and then Ghostbusters go right here. Ghostbusters goes right there. Now I need to make room for Mortal Kombat because I fully intend on bringing that down here. After that, I don't know what happens. Maybe I bring the Tempest upstairs because I don't want to necessarily sell the Tempest. I could bring it upstairs and I could put the Tempest next to my Centipede Cabaret, and then hopefully that'll make room for Mortal Kombat. So that's the plan. I think I'm only going to sell one game, and it's going to be the Outrun, and I have a friend that's been asking for a long time to buy that, and I'm going to probably sell it to him. So don't ask. Unless he bails on me, but I don't think he will. Him and I have been talking for like 2 years, so. Okay, next one's from Romeo. Hello, John. Great video. I just saw your video and that you were looking for a paint stripper. Yes, I was asking for paint stripper recommendations because at the time, it seemed like the Citrus strip was eating up the Mortal Kombat side art. He goes on, try to use Dumond Smart Strip Remover. This is mild, but it does a better job than Citrus Strip. It has been given great reviews and it is relatively new to the market. I have enclosed a picture of Dumond. Please give it a go and give me a review. Keep up the great work, John. This is Dumond Smart Strip, and comes in a big white bucket right there. So I'm going to tell you, Romeo, and a lot of people have been asking me about the Mortal Kombat, and a lot of people have been offering me parts. Thank you guys. You all really rule. And especially thanks to my friend Daniel down in Georgia, who really hooked me up with some stuff. I got the transformer from him, the harness, and all kinds of stuff. So Daniel is really helping me populate the little odds and ends of the cabinet. I'm working still to get a PCB. And then Joshua sold me a control panel for 60 bucks shipped, which is the wood and the metal and the Lexan. So thanks, Joshua, very much. And then I've had a lot of you guys asking me wanting to help get parts and stuff. So thanks to everyone that has offered help with this restore. And I'm actually really excited to work on the Mortal Kombat. I'm not kidding. I'm excited to work on it. And then also, okay, going back to the stripper here, Romeo. So I did an unlisted video. And by the way, if you guys want to see the unlisted videos, you got to follow me on Twitter. That's the only place I put the links, okay? And basically what the unlisted videos are, if I'm in the mood or I do something in the garage that I want to share, I whip out my phone and I record a 2-minute video, kind of an update as to what's going on in my life, okay? And these are very low budget phone videos, so I don't put them on the channel, okay? So if you want to see those videos, follow me on Twitter, BLKDOG7. Anyway, I did an unlisted video showing an experiment that I did with the Mortal Kombat 2 that was isopropyl alcohol and a magic eraser, okay? Because someone, a gentleman on YouTube, I don't know his name, Dave from Buffalo actually sent me a link to this video of a guy that basically just used alcohol and a magic eraser to remove the paint on a bubbles, and it just worked like magic, and you know what? It really does. It's like crazy. It's just like, it should not work. It's just alcohol and a magic eraser, and the paint just like comes off magically. Anyway, I did that, and in the unlisted video, I showed that the artwork that is under that black paint is blown out, guys. It's toast, okay? So I don't know if they painted that thing black because it was hosed. I don't know what happened, but it's almost like maybe it was sanded and then painted black, or the artwork was so faded from the sun that it was just gone and blown out that they painted it black. I don't know, but the artwork is not going to be saved on that Mortal Kombat. And really, the citrus strip did not eat into the artwork. It appeared that way because it looked like garbage underneath, but that's what is underneath. The alcohol and the magic eraser was very safe and mild, and I was able to remove the black paint only and to see this very blurry and ugly artwork. So Romeo, thanks for the suggestion for the stripper, but I don't think we're gonna need it. So anyway, that's it, guys. Did you have fun? All right, so we're gonna get back to the Quantum next video, maybe. I also got to do that JAMA Raspberry Pi video. I want to do that with Adam though, because Adam and I did the Raspberry Pi video before, and I thought it'd be fun if him and I did the JAMA one too together. And then we're gonna do the Mortal Kombat and the Bro Fest. We're gonna be doing some road trips here. We got a lot going on here on John's Arcade. So if you guys want to keep up, be sure to subscribe. I release new videos on Sundays and sometimes in between. I think I'm gonna have to kind of ramp up the videos a little bit in the next few weeks just to get caught up here. But so yes, if you guys want to keep up with everything, subscribe to this channel, tell your friends, let's grow it. Come on, leave comments, whatever. Send me emails at blkdog7@gmail.com, and I hope to see you guys at CAX, which is California Extreme, which is like July 15th. Go to arcadeevent.com to order your shirt and to get the details about the event. Anyway, that's it, guys. We're done. Check out my podcast, Video Game Outsiders, at videogameoutsiders.com, Arcade Outsiders at arcadeoutsiders.com, and You Suck Show at yousuckshow.com. Guys, that's it. We are out of here. I'll see you very soon. Later, and bye!